Good afternoon, councillors, and welcome to the afternoon session of Perth and Kinross Council meeting on Wednesday, the 16th of December. Can I ask now, Scott, to do a roll call vote, please? Roll call, please.
Thank you, Deputy Provost. Good afternoon, councillors. When I call out your name, can you confirm that you're present at the meeting? Councillor Ahern?
Present.
Councillor Bailey?
Present.
Councillor Baird, we've heard from yourself. Councillor Barnacle?
Present.
Councillor Liz Barrett?
Present.
Councillor Peter Barrett?
Present.
Councillor Braun?
Present.
Councillor Brock?
Present.
Councillor Audrey Coates? I'll come back. Councillor Donaldson?
Present.
Councillor Drysdale?
Present.
Councillor Duff?
Present.
Councillor Forbes?
Present.
Councillor Gray?
Present.
Councillor Illingworth?
Present.
Councillor James?
Present.
Councillor Jarvis?
I'm here.
Councillor Lane?
Present.
Councillor Lyle?
Present.
Councillor Massey?
Present.
Councillor McCall?
Present.
Councillor McCall?
Present.
Councillor McDade?
Present.
Councillor McEwen?
Present.
Provost?
Present.
Councillor Parrott?
Present.
Councillor Pover?
Present.
Councillor Purvis?
Present. Sorry,
Okay.
struggling to unmute.
Thank you. Councillor Rebek?
Present, thank you.
Councillor Reid?
Present.
Councillor Robertson?
Present.
Councillor Sarwar?
Present.
Councillor Shires?
Present.
Councillor Simpson?
Present.
Councillor Stewart?
Present.
Councillor Waters?
Present.
Councillor Williamson?
Present.
And Councillor Wilson.
Present.
I'll just go back to ask either Councillor Coates if you're present, or if IT can confirm whether she's here. And I just see a comment saying that Councillor Coates is present, but her microphone is muted. Thank you, Deputy Provost.
Thank you. So we presume that Councillor Coates is present. Councillor Coates, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Scott. We now move on to item 11, which is the timetable of the meetings from January to June. And can I ask Scott Henry to summarise the proposed timetable? Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Provost. I'll just provide a brief summary of the timetable that's been issued. The timetable is largely based on the same cycle that we've used in the past for council, committee and subcommittee meetings. And we've put in dates only until June of next year due to the current uncertainty regarding the pandemic. Also, since we've been doing virtual meetings, the practice has been of having one meeting per day, which is to consider time, but also the health and well-being of all members and staff. On that basis, although the preference of members continues to be to have committee and subcommittee meetings on a Monday morning and a Wednesday, it does mean that there are some meetings that are not scheduled on these days. So members are asked to consider the timetable for approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Scott. I see we've got a question from Councillor Barnacle. Councillor Barnacle.
Thank you, Deputy Provost. I've one or two questions on this matter. First of all, on my printed copy of the timetable, I have black spaces in certain places, which I assume are full council. That's the first question. Can I list all these, or are we going one by one?
Yes, you may as well just list them all, because if it's all questions about dates, I'm sure Scott can answer them.
that was the first point, the black spaces on the printed copy. The second point, the previous revenue budget report today said that the budget setting day would be the 3rd of March, which is not on my timetable. And the other points are, I did send an email to the provost, which you will not be possibly aware of,
No,
Kathleen.
No.
It was just really from the independent group meeting earlier this week, socially distanced. We remain concerned about the length of virtual full council meetings. I think today is a case in point. And also, I understand that the capital and revenue budgets will be looked at together when we think they should be separate meetings. And as previously proposed, we think the revenue budget should be the subject of 2 meetings for proper consideration and in the interests of good governance, rather than the current way we do it. And finally, can I ask you to intimate if there are any plans to look at hybrid meetings in 2021, as is done in the 2 parliaments? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think Lisa Simpson will answer these questions. Thank you. Lisa?
Yeah, happy to. I did send Councillor Barnacle an email answering all of his comments this morning, but just to clarify, the paper this morning which recommended the date for the special council meeting for the budget, I have had confirmation from Stuart Mackenzie, the Section 95 officer, that there isn't an assumption that capital and revenue would be held together, so there's been no decision on that. It's simply a date for the special council meeting to take place in terms of the timelines that we're currently working to. I have stated that I note the point that Councillor Barnacle has made on several occasions about there needing to be 2 meetings to consider the revenue budget, but I've simply advised that this isn't a decision that Council has taken to date. As regards hybrid meetings, I have also advised Councillor Barnacle that we continue to monitor and review this position, but we are guided by the advice that we receive in respect of public health. And at the moment, whilst we're told to stay at home to work, then hybrid meetings will not be considered. I also have to advise that we don't have the technology or the resources to adopt the model that operates currently within the Scottish Parliament, so we're not entirely sure whether or not hybrid meetings could be accommodated. But at this particular point in time, it's not being considered because we are not meeting in the office and we're still working from home as per the public health guidance. But we will continue to monitor the situation.
Thank you very much.
Can I just briefly, Kathleen, thank Lisa for that response, and apologies, I didn't check my emails this morning.
No problem.
I
had to send it this morning once we were just about to go into the meeting, Councillor Barnacle, so no problem at all, but I've set out all of these points for you, and if you want to pick up anything with me offline, please feel free.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Councillor McDade.
Thank you, Deputy Provost. I have a question around particularly the budget meeting, which is proposed to be the 5th of March, and why it's being held on a Friday when the previous Wednesday, the 3rd of March, is available according to this timetable. Last year was, I understand, the first time in about 20 years that the council budget meeting had been on a Friday. We did have an agreement in December 2017 at the council that wherever possible, as Scott Hendry outlined, meetings would be held on Mondays and Wednesdays. Fridays have never been committee days. There has occasionally been licensing board, for example, and the licence board is on Thursday, and LRBs have been on Tuesdays. But outside of that, it's not been normal to have media committees or council on other days. And I'm not quite sure why, when the Wednesday in front of it is available, that it is being put on a Friday. Last year, or rather earlier this year, last year's budget was held on a Friday, and it was incredibly awkward for a lot of us who actually have work commitments that are scheduled around that we have council business on Mondays and Wednesdays, and therefore I would ask that it be moved to the available Wednesday, the 3rd of March.
Lisa, do you wish to make any comment or answer that question?
I haven't actually been involved in specifying the date or the time for the budget meeting. I don't know whether or not Stuart Mackenzie can perhaps give more information around that.
Karen Donaldson wishes to answer it. Karen?
Thank you, Deputy Provost. I wasn't sure whether Stuart Mackenzie was on the call or not, but I do know that when we had discussions about what might be an appropriate date for the council meeting to set the revenue budget, we took into account the fact that the information from Scottish Government on the finance settlement is only coming out on the 28th of January, and the team need sufficient time to prepare for that. So I do see Stuart is on the call now, so perhaps he can provide some more information to provide members the reason for choosing the Friday.
Thank you. Stuart, would you like to give some more information, please? Possible?
Thank you, Deputy Provost. Thank you, Karen, and thank you, councillors. My apologies, there may be some confusion on this point. Paragraph 6.2 of the report which Council considered this morning references a proposal that the budget setting Council meeting will take place on the 3rd of March. That's Wednesday, the 3rd of March. So there may be some confusion on this point.
Just if I can contribute,
Yes,
Deputy Provost, I'd be content that the budget process went ahead on the 3rd of March on Wednesday, as we had done previously. I am aware that last year's circumstances were deemed exceptional at the time because of issues around UK government elections, etc., and the delays to the Scottish budget. But we do have a date on the 28th of January next year for that, and I suspect that if we went back to a normal Wednesday, that would be reasonable.
Thank you, Councillor Lyle.
thank you very much. Councillor Tom McEwen, you have a question.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Provost. It was around because these meetings are electronic, the electronic invites that we received to attend these meetings. More recently, these sort of invites come to us very close to the meeting, which means these things don't fill our diaries up. So I was requesting that for this 6-month period that the electronic requests for these meetings come to us weeks or months in advance of the meetings themselves, so that they become diary items. Because when I put these, personally, get that bit of paper, put all my meetings into my diary by hand, that's fine. But then when the electronic meeting comes, you end up with 2 entries for the same thing. And I think that sometimes leads to the confusion in getting into meetings, when you have more than one entry for the same meeting in your electronic diary. So it's more to help people, the practicalities of implementing this diary rather than the diary itself.
Yes, Councillor McEwen, I think sometimes we do get a bit confused with what's relevant and what's maybe slightly historical. I'm sure that's something that committee services can look at, and perhaps we can get them a bit earlier. Don't know if we need anything more added to that today, but I'm sure it'll
No,
be.
that's fine. Yeah, I just wanted to raise that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I see no more questions. Councillor Rain, yours is more a comment. So do you wish to make that now or after Councillor Lyle has moved this?
It's relating to the budget setting day, and I'm quite happy that it's the Wednesday, but you'll have been at more budget days than I have, Deputy Provost, and I thought but it was always a Thursday.
It used to always be a Thursday, that is absolutely correct. Way back in the dim and distant past, it was a Thursday, it was budget.
No, I think it was a Thursday up till we changed to a Friday. I think that was the change, so it just shows it has been on various days, but happy for it to be on a Wednesday if it suits elected members. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I see no more questions. Can I invite Councillor Lyle to move agreement of the proposed timetable? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Provost. As you see before you, you have a 6-month provisional timetable for the meetings of the council. The 6-month timetable is brought before you today rather than the annual one, due to the uncertainty of COVID
and the likely challenges that we are going to have to our staff and staff resources over the next few months as we deal with a potential third wave of COVID, and equally the vaccination rollout, which will be challenging and will demand a significant resource from this council, as I was briefed last week. So I'm happy to move the paper, and hopefully the members can agree the timetable for the next 6 months.
Thank you very much. Councillor Duff, to second the report, please.
Thank you, Deputy Provost. Just happy to formally second. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments on this report? Are we just all happy to agree?
Agree the report.
Agreed.
Thank you very much. We now move on to item 12, which is appointments to committees, subcommittees and outside bodies. 12.1 is the appointment subcommittee of SPNR Resource Committee of the post of Chief Executive. I will now ask Councillor Lyle to advise of the nominations for the 5 members for the appointment subcommittee, please. Councillor Lyle.
Thank you very much, Deputy Provost. The 2 Conservative nominations for the role are myself and Councillor Duff, and the other nominations from the SNP group I'm not familiar with at this moment. Perhaps Councillor Lane or Councillor Parrott or Councillor Sawar can identify them to me. And the further nomination that we have today is Councillor Barrett from the Lib Dems.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lane, can you advise your nominations?
Yes, we sent our nominations to Democratic Services several weeks ago.
Thank you very much. Is that as much information as we're getting today? Is that everyone quite happy with that then?
Deputy Provost, I'm happy to come in at this point just to clarify. So for this post, yes, my understanding is following Councillor Lyle's comment that it's Councillor Lyle, Councillor Duff, and from the SNP group it's Councillor Lane, Councillor Sarwar, and the other nomination is Councillor Barrett.
Peter Barrett.
Can you please clarify, it's Councillor Peter Barrett, please?
My apologies, yes, Councillor Peter Barrett.
Thank you very much. Appointment Subcommittee SPNR Resources Committee for the post of Chief Operating Officer. Councillor Lyle, please advise the nominations, please.
Again, thank you, Deputy Provost. I would advise, due to standing orders, I propose that it is myself who is obliged to sit, and the other Conservative appointee would be Councillor Shires.
Thank you very much.
And my understanding from the Independent Labour group that Councillor Bailey would sit. And the 2 colleagues from the SNP group, I am not aware of their identity at the moment.
Again, Deputy Provost, we sent the information several weeks ago to Democratic Services when we were asked to.
Thank you very much.
Deputy Provost, again, if I can advise that the nominations from the SNP group are Councillor Parrott and Councillor Sheila McCall.
Thank you very much. And we wish you all well on your appointments. Now we go to 12.3, further appointments to committees, subcommittees and outside bodies. Committee service information to be circulated. Is that correct, Scott?
Thank you, Deputy Provost. I'm going to pass to Councillor Lyle. I understand he may have a motion to move.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Councillor Lane wishes to come in at this point, just before we move to a motion.
Thanks. I was typing in at the time, Deputy Provost, to ask if we could have a recess, but I'd have to hear the proposal first before we can go into recess, because there's been a lot of discussion over this, and it seems to be quite confused. So we'll have the clarity of the motion, and then we can go into our breakout rooms, if you will allow us to discuss what's actually in front of us, because we've had what we thought was a different proposal just 5-10 minutes ago. So it'd be appreciated if once we see the proposal we could have a recess. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Scott, could you put up on the screen the email that you sent out on the 27th of November, which gave the overview of the now that's not come up on my main screen.
Yeah,
but it has now. This is the proposal we have today was based on this the political balance as we received an email on 27th of November. My motion is that we adhere to the figures on this document today, and that following today's meeting we already have a governance member officer working group set up, that we take the numbers, various different formulations of how to compute the numbers and the political balance within the council, take that to the member officer working group, allow them to scrutinise it and bring it back to the first council meeting available. I understand the other work in the member officer working group for governance is well progressed, so I suspect this can be put up the agenda and brought back to council as soon as possible for scrutiny at that point. Thank you. That's my motion.
thank you very much.
Deputy Provost, can I just, for clarity before we break out, so if it comes to, and it may help in the discussions, if it's coming for, not for scrutiny, but a proposal coming from the MOG would be put to the council to see if the allocation of seats were with various options or an option, it would be voted on at the next full council.
That's correct. Yes, but bearing in mind that the MOG itself is not a decision-making body and can only make a recommendation to the council.
Yes,
and
really
the
appreciate that.
thanks for that.
Thanks for that. Thanks, Councillor Lyle. Thanks for that clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Simpson's asked to come in.
Yeah. Just before you commit me to doing something by the next council meeting, I'm not sure of the timing of the next MOG, and given the time that's taken to discuss the standing orders, I'm not sure that we'll have a whole new process developed and ready to bring to the next council meeting, but we will expedite that. I think there is an opportunity for us. This is the custom and practice and how we've allocated political balance in the past, and it's quite a common approach across the councils. However, there will be much more sophisticated ways to do that, to actually look at what the numbers are in terms of the percentage of occupancy across all of the committees, if that is what councillors are minded to do. And I'm happy to initiate that work with the MOG, and we can bring it back to council for decision and formal approval in due course, but we will make this a matter of priority.
Thank you very much. Councillor Wilson, have you a question on?
Deputy Provost.
Yes, Councillor Wilson.
Sorry, Deputy Provost.
Yes, I hear you.
Is Councillor Duff?
Oh, sorry.
We need to formally second the motion, I think. First, please.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry, it's my dog for joining in.
Okay, thank you.
I'm happy to second the motion, taking into consideration Mrs. Simpson's comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson, you have a question.
Yes, Deputy Provost, I didn't want to interrupt Councillor Duff at all. My question was just to check my understanding that during the recess I understood that the formula that we saw presented on the chart would apply for the next round of committees until a further decision is made, or a confirmation decision or other decision is made at the next full council meeting. But the formula we saw displayed there would be the committee membership. It's skeletal, but it suffices for the political groups to populate that with committee services. That would apply on an interim basis until the next council meeting. Am I correct?
That's my understanding, Councillor Wilson.
Thank you. Councillor Gray, you have a question.
Yes, thank you. Looking at the table put up by Scott Walker, can I ask why is there 2 columns of Conservatives in that table?
Happy to answer that, Councillor Gray, if no one else is answering it. Because there is a Conservative group as part of the administration, and there's a further Conservative group which is part of the opposition.
But can I ask why, when these people were represented, came onto the council as Conservatives, why does that mean that they are not excluded from your group, but they're given a group of their own? They don't appear to be a group, according to the figures. They don't appear to be a group on their own. They appear to be included in both groups, in fact, numerical.
That's not my understanding.
Well, do the maths on it, and that's what I came up with.
Scott Hendry would like to come in at this stage, please. I'm conscious that we're beginning to stray into sort of debate, comments, rather than just straight questions. It was asked if we could have a recess, so we're kind of just moved on. We've forgotten to do that. So, Scott Hendry, would like to say something at this stage.
Thank you, Deputy Provost. I'm just looking to get clarity on process in terms of where we are. So the motion that has been moved by Councillor Lyle, which was reflective of the political balance table, and my understanding is that you're saying that you wish to revisit that and look at that at the governance member officer group and come back to council, but in the interim that you do adhere to the political balance that is shown in the guide. However, at this stage we don't actually have any formal nominations for replacing or continuing with the current nominations. So I'm just going to get clarity. Are we actually looking to make any name changes on any committee membership today? Because if we are looking to go with the current system, the status quo would remain unless council wish to make any changes. So I'm just going to get clarity from the mover and the seconder of the motion.
From my perspective, from our group, we would continue to populate the committees as they were. But I also am absolutely minded that those councillors who've been newly elected into this council should be allocated specific committees by their own groups going forward.
Thank you. Okay. Councillor Parrott, you have a question.
Yes, thank you, Vice Convener. My question is to ask the Leader of the Council. We had a conversation before we restarted, and the impression I gained from you was that we would leave things as they are now. I understood, pending work by the MAUG, I understood that to mean that the present situation, as opposed to the one that you've put forward in your motion. Can you confirm that I was wrong in that understanding?
Yeah, my apologies, Councillor Parrott. I think it would be unfair if we left the committees as they are now with vacancies when we have 2 newly elected councillors who I'm sure would be champing at the bit to get on with committee work, etc., depending on which committees they are allocated to. So that would be my view, that I maybe misrepresented myself, and I apologise for that if I have. But it was just that we adhered to the sort of time-honoured way of deriving the political balance that we have presently. And we have to obviously accommodate, in my view, the newly elected members, and then we would proceed. And I presume this would probably encompass 1 round of committees, therefore bring back the response from the MOG to the next council meeting if possible. And I'll take Mrs Simpson's points on board as far as speed and expediting the decision, but often where there's a will, there's a way. And that would be my position as far as clarifying your question.
Thank you very much for that. Sorry, Deputy Provost, may I ask a supplementary?
Yes, please do.
Thank you. My understanding again, Councillor Lyle, was that if you like, leaving things as they were now, which was as we come into the meeting with it, would not have prejudiced making changes to membership of those committees against the present numbers on those committees. Thank you.
Okay, that's something that I would need to digest that and see where we are. I have no issue with that situation, but others may have some difficulty with it, I suspect, if the political balance changes significantly within the groups as part of the overall democratic balance in the council.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Peter Barrett, you've a point of clarification. Councillor Barrett.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Provost. It's related to the questions raised by Councillor Parrott and the contradictions in the responses given by Councillor Lyle, as I understand it. Councillor Wilson sought clarification as to whether the political balance proposals that Scott Henry put and were circulated or put up on the screen earlier were going to apply in the interim while the MOG considered any changes to that. And I thought Councillor Lyle gave a clear undertaking that that was what was going to happen in the interim. So if Councillor Lyle could confirm whether that is the case or not.
That was really my point of clarification to Councillor Parrott's question, that I would assume that as we go forward to the next council meeting, where we will determine this hopefully once and for all, that we would adhere to the new democratic balance of the council for that one round of meetings.
Thank you, that's clear.
Thank you very much. Now I think we can go back to address Councillor Lane's wish to have a recess. So can I ask the Provost if we may have a recess?
Yes, yes, I think you're right, but to definitely have a recess for what, 10 minutes? Would that be enough, or do you need a bit less?
20 minutes, Provost.
20 minutes. 20 minutes.
Thank you. I go with Councillor Forbes. 20 minutes if everybody else is agreeable.
Yeah,
right.
Thank you.
Deputy Provost, can I just check before we go into recess? Do the groups wish me to circulate the sort of proposals that had come to myself in terms of names for this interim position that we were going into, or are the groups looking to look at it on the whole? I'm just looking for clarity as to whether members wish information circulated prior to the recess to allow them to consider this.
I would think that was useful if that was circulated. Yeah.
Thank you. So it's now 14:36. So we'll be back here just before 3 o'clock. That's possible. Thank you.
Hello. Thanks for allowing the recess, Provost.
Well, councillors, are we all back?
Yep. Nearly, I think we were working on 3 o'clock, Kathleen.
Right, okay, thank you. I'll just wait a minute or two.
There are currently still 3 councillors that aren't present.
Deputy Provost, could we find out whose phone persistently rings and ask them if they would do what the Provost asked early in the meeting and switch it off?
Yeah, I think it's yours, Willie, is it not?
No, it's not mine. First of all, that's not my ringtone, as you well know.
Can I remind councillors that we are live at the moment? Thank you.
Mute your buttons, lads.
Just wait till exactly 3 o'clock and then I will recommence. So one person not back at the meeting yet, I believe. I think Councillor McCall's trying to get in. Thank you, councillors, for your patience. I know it's been a long day, but council business must be done and we can't get things sorted out beforehand. This is what happens when we've got to have long recesses and trying to get back in. Okay, it is now 3 o'clock and I think we begin and hope that Councillor McCall has now joined us. Okay, we left off when we would have a recess. We have now had the recess and we're ready to begin. Councillor Lyle, have you anything you wish to say at this stage? We have an amendment.
Provost, but we put a motion forward prior to recess and we now await response from others.
Thank you. We have an amendment from Councillor McDade. Councillor McDade.
Thank you, Deputy Provost. Yes, can I ask Committee Services perhaps put our amendment on the screen for others to see, please?
Thank you.
Somebody's standing in the cat.
We still have the telephone going as well. I can remind councillors, if you're not talking, please to be on mute.
Thank you, Deputy Provost, and thank you, Committee Services, for displaying that. I'm not sure if they can perhaps zoom in slightly to make the numbers clearer. That would be very helpful if they can. So our amendment is what we believe reflects the previous way that seats have been allocated in the last 3 occasions, where seats were divided administration opposition and then as percentages within the opposition, and the opposition groups negotiated to ensure a fair balance that reflected the group's size within the opposition and within the council. We believe that this amendment does that. It ensures the administration get their fair share. As you can see, they're 37.5% and they get 38.05% of seats. The SNP, who are 35% of the council, get 33.92%. Our group, which is 10% of the council, gets 8.92%. The Conservative Opposition Group, which is 5% of the council, gets 6 seats, and actually, sorry, that number is incorrect. It is close. It's 5.53%, I think, off the top of my head. And the Lib Dem group, which is 12.5%, gets exactly 12.5% of the seats. We believe this is fair, it is equitable, it is about as close to proportional representation within the previous precedent of administration opposition as you can get. It does not get as close as you can in terms of you do it council wide, but we feel that the previous 3 occasions, which have been based on administration opposition and then the opposition agreeing amongst themselves, this carries on that precedent and reflects the fairest share of seats within that. And therefore, we would like to move this on that basis.
Thank you very much, Councillor McDade. Have you a seconder for your amendment?
Yes, happy to second. Thank you, Deputy Provost. The advantage of this proposal that Councillor McDade is putting forward is that it's the one that gives us the most arithmetically close allocation of seats according to what the people of Perth and Kinross, or who the people of Perth and Kinross have elected. As you can see in the table, notwithstanding the error in the Conservative opposition column, it gets us really close to the percentage in the very bottom row, matching with the percentage of council row nearer the top of the table. And it does that, by the way, by using by applying a split between the different committees rather than, whereas the one that Scott put forward is of course also fair, but is making the split just at a administration versus opposition level. So it means that there are bigger rounding errors when you try and allocate seats on individual committees. Councillor McDade's option addresses that. So for that reason, I'm happy to second. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Parrott, you have an amendment?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Provost. We have an amendment which I'd like to put forward, which I hope Scott Hendry is in a position to share on the screen.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. You'll notice that our amendment differs slightly from the previous amendment that's been put forward, because our amendment is based on the best political balance that can be achieved across the total numbers for all committees, and we believe that is the appropriate starting point for this process. The amendment that has just been put forward is not as politically balanced as is reasonably possible. We believe that this amendment most closely provides the best alignment between total number of committee places with the representation on the council. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Barrett. And have you a seconder for your amendment?
Councillor Parrott.
Happy to formally second, Vice Provost.
Thank you. Are there any further amendments? No. Councillor Purvis, you have a point of order.
Thank you, Convener. It was just to ask, following the advice from the clerk, well, no, that's his IGB title, from Mr. Hendry, whether or not the amendments are competent, given that there is not a list of names associated with them, as there is with the motion. I have a comment, but I'll leave that to later on. Just if Mr. Hendry could provide clarity on that, please.
Deputy Provost, if I could come in, I was going to actually seek clarification on that. So my understanding would be that whilst the motion specifies the detailed names of which members would go on the committee, if either the First Amendment or the Second Amendment were to be what Council agreed today, therefore my understanding would be that it would be competent, and because we would agree which of the groups were entitled to which seats, so we would therefore ask the groups purely to submit names based on their agreed allocation. I would be looking for groups just to clarify that was their understanding if either of these amendments were successful.
Councillor Lyle.
I think the comments were regarding the two amendments from Councillor Parrott and Councillor McDade, not the motion.
Sorry, I thought you wished to speak. Councillor McDade.
No, sorry.
Thank you, Deputy Provost. Yes, I'm quite happy to agree with what Mr. Hendry has just outlined, that would be the pragmatic position, and that would be what I would expect to happen, that we would agree the balance in terms of groups, and then the groups would nominate and provide those nominations as soon as possible to committee services following the meeting, as has been the case in the past on a number of occasions.
Councillor Barrett, you have a point of clarification?
Yes, Deputy Provost, thank you. In moving the original motion, Councillor Lyle referred to a reference of this matter to the Modernising Governance Member Officer Working Group. There doesn't seem to be any such undertaking with regard to the amendments that have been put forward. So I'm wondering whether Councillor Lyle wants to consider withdrawing the need to refer this to the Modernising Governance MOG and simply put his motion up against the two amendments without that and get it done and dusted for once.
Thank you, Councillor Barrett. Sorry, I was waiting on the Deputy Provost coming in. My apologies. No, I think in the good grace that the motion was put forward in, and the how would you say, spirit of goodwill that we are coming up to Christmas, I would be minded that our motion, and is the only article before us today that actually gives us time to properly scrutinise this process going forward. Thank you.
Councillor Parrott.
Thank you, Deputy Provost. No, I just wished to agree with Councillor McDade that if the numbers can be settled, then names can be put to those numbers, and that's a pragmatic way forward. And I would take the view, if I may, that Mrs. Simpson has already put forward a proposal to take the matter to the MALG, and I believe that is implied in what we're doing now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm actually a bit at a loss of the next move here. Oh, Councillor McEwen, sorry. You have a comment.
I suppose, Deputy Provost, it's whether we're going to have another recess so people can look at all three of these together, or whether we're going to move to comments.
If you're requesting a recess, I will ask the Provost if he's willing to have another recess. That's quite in order. We want to make sure whatever we do, we get the right result today for the benefit of everyone in Perth and Kinross, not just one or two.
Yeah, I was reflecting the comments in the chat by Councillor Forbes at 1509, where he requested a 10-minute recess.
Sorry, I missed that one.
No, that's okay.
Councillor Lane.
Thank you, Provost. I was just looking for clarification from Councillor McDade and Councillor Parrott that they too intend and would wish to be included in their amendment I thought there was a settled will that this any decision taken today would then go to a MOG and come back for either ratification or change. So I was asking for Councillor McDade and Councillor Parrott to formally say if that was meant to be intended in their amendments.
Councillor McDade.
Thank you, Thank you, Deputy Provost. Yes, indeed, in the spirit the Leader of the Council outlined, I think that we are all looking to seek to find better solutions, that we don't end up in this situation again in the future. I think what he has outlined in terms of this should be considered by the MOG as a matter of urgency is important, that we should, and I am very happy to include that in our amendment, and I'm sure that Councillor Bailey and hopefully will support that too, but absolutely we would support that.
Yeah, happy to support that change as well, thanks.
Sorry, I didn't hear who spoke just now.
Sorry, as the seconder of Councillor McDade's amendment, I was meaning to add that I also support the change that he just spoke to.
Oh, thank you very much. And Councillor Parrott.
Thank you, Deputy Provost. I too would be happy for the proposals I've put forward to be subject to further scrutiny and examination by the MALG before final proposals are brought back to Council. Thank you. And I'm sure Councillor Sarwar would wish to speak herself.
Thank you.
Just happy to echo that.
Thank you very much. Will we now vote on these amendments? Or is there still the desire to have this recess?
I'm not sure if a recess is going to be any benefit, to be perfectly honest. I think you should just keep going.
Okay, if that is the will, we will just continue and go to the vote.
Thank you, Deputy Provost. I will now proceed to the vote. If I can just as well run through and just seek clarity as to where we are in terms of the motions and amendments. So we have a motion from Councillor Lyle, seconded by Councillor Duff, to approve the list that were circulated and to approve members on that basis along the lines of the political balance guide that was issued by officers in November, with a view that this be an interim position until the methods of political balance is further reviewed by a meeting of the Governance Member Officer Working Group. We have a first amendment from Councillor McDade, seconded by Councillor Bale, which is in line with the proposed calculation of members at present that was circulated to you and shared on the screen. Again, with the caveat that this be further revisited as soon as possible at the Governance Member Officer Group. We have a second amendment from Councillor Parrott, seconded by Councillor Sarwar, to agree the positions on committees as an interim position just now in line with what was circulated to you and shared on the screen, and also on the basis that this be further revisited as soon as possible at the Governance Member Officer Group. At this point, if that's not correct, can I ask any of the movers or seconders of the motions amendments to come in and clarify?
I'm content.
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 Thank you. So in terms of standing orders, the second amendment will be put against the first amendment. So the second amendment being from Councillor Parrott and the first amendment coming from Councillor McDade. So when I call out members' name, can they indicate whether they're voting for the second amendment or the first amendment? Councillor Ahern.
Abstain.
Councillor Bailey.
First amendment.
Councillor Deputy Provost Baird.
Abstain.
Councillor Barnacle.
First amendment.
Councillor Liz Barrett.
Abstain.
Councillor Peter Barrett.
Abstain.
Councillor Braun.
Abstain.
Councillor Brock.
First amendment.
Councillor Audrey Coates.
Abstain.
Councillor Donaldson.
Second amendment.
Councillor Drysdale.
Second amendment.
Councillor Duff.
Abstain.
Councillor Forbes.
Abstain.
Councillor Gray.
Second amendment.
Councillor Illingworth.
Abstain.
Councillor James.
Abstain.
Councillor Jarvis.
Abstain.
Councillor Lane.
Second amendment.
Councillor Lyle.
Abstain.
Councillor Massey.
Second amendment.
Councillor McCall.
Abstain.
Councillor McCall. Councillor McCall.
Yes.
Sorry, Councillor McCall, can you confirm your voting intention?
I was disconnected, Scott, so I didn't hear the proposal.
Okay.
I've had some difficulty staying connected, so I missed some of it.
I shall move on to Councillor McDade.
First amendment.
Councillor McEwen.
Second amendment.
Provost.
Abstain.
Councillor Parrott.
Amendment 2.
Councillor Pulver.
Second amendment.
Councillor Purvis.
Abstain.
Councillor Rebeck.
Second amendment.
Councillor Reid.
Abstain.
Councillor Robertson.
Abstain.
Councillor Sarwar.
Second amendment.
Councillor Shires.
Abstain.
Councillor Simpson.
Abstain.
Councillor Stewart.
Abstain.
Councillor Waters.
Second amendment.
Councillor Williamson.
Second amendment.
Councillor Wilson.
Abstain.
Deputy Provost, I have 12 votes for the second amendment and 4 votes for the first amendment with 21 abstentions. So the second amendment is carried and now becomes the substantive amendment. Again, in line with standing orders, the motion will now be put against the substantive amendment. Do members wish me to clarify again which is the motion and amendment, or should we just proceed to the vote?
I would suggest proceed to the vote.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I call out members' names, can they now indicate if they're voting for the motion or the amendment? Councillor Ahern.
Motion.
Councillor Bailey.
Amendment.
Councillor Baird.
Motion.
Councillor Barnacle.
Amendment.
Councillor, apologies. Apologies, Deputy Provost. Can I just go back just to clarify that again? So Councillor Ahern voted for the motion. Councillor Bailey voted for the amendment. Councillor Baird voted for the motion, and Councillor Barnacle voted for the amendment.
Correct.
So, Councillor Liz Barrett.
For the motion.
Councillor Peter Barrett.
Motion.
Councillor Braun.
Motion.
Councillor Brock.
Amendment.
Councillor Audrey Coates. Councillor Coates.
Can we maybe go back to Councillor Coates, Scott? I know it's not normal, but she's maybe mute.
But
no, motion.
Thank you, Councillor Coates. You vote for the motion.
Thank you.
Councillor Donaldson.
Amendment.
Councillor Drysdale.
Amendment.
Councillor Duff.
Motion.
Councillor Forbes.
Motion.
Councillor Gray.
Amendment.
Councillor Illingworth.
Motion.
Councillor James.
Motion.
Councillor Jarvis.
Motion.
Councillor Lang.
Amendment.
Councillor Lyle.
Motion.
Councillor Massey.
Amendment.
Councillor McCall.
Motion.
Councillor McCall.
Amendment.
Councillor McDade.
Amendment.
Councillor McEwen.
Amendment.
Provost.
Sorry. Motion.
Provost, can you just confirm you're voting for the motion?
Motion.
Thank you. Councillor Parrott.
Amendment.
Councillor Pulver.
Amendment.
Councillor Purvis.
Motion.
Councillor Redbeck.
Amendment.
Councillor Reid.
Motion.
Councillor Robertson.
Motion.
Councillor Sarwar.
Amendment.
Councillor Shires.
Motion.
Councillor Simpson.
Motion.
Councillor Stewart.
Motion.
Councillor Waters.
Amendment.
Councillor Williamson.
Amendment.
And Councillor Wilson.
Motion.
Deputy Provost, I have 21 votes for the motion and 17 votes for the amendment, so the motion is therefore carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we will. Sorry, we've got a point of order from Councillor Ahern.
Thank you very much, Deputy Provost. Yeah, Councillor McCall's vote wasn't included in the first vote. It was in the second one. It wasn't included in the first one because she was missing part of the debate.
And the point is?
Deputy Provost, if I could just come in terms of voting, it's for the member themselves to clarify whether they feel that they have been present during a particular item of business in terms of any debate or motions or amendments. So that's why I obviously it's not my decision whether Councillor McCall was to vote or not. So it was Councillor McCall's decision based on her knowledge of being present.
Thank you very much. Councillor McEwen, you have a point of order.
Thank you, Deputy Provost. Mine focuses around the voting as well. It's always difficult online, and we've had this conversation before. You're either able to vote in your slot or you're not able to vote in your slot. And I agree there should be time spent to allow people to connect because we all have these issues. But to request that somebody go back to somebody to vote again seems to give the impression there's one rule for one and not the same rule for everybody. So I was just hoping to get clarity either from officers or from Scott regarding how we do these votes, because our voting is contentious amongst ourselves and politically, and there needs to be something that's done in a predictable and obvious manner so that it isn't open to the question I'm just asking, because I prefer not to ask this.
Deputy Provost, if I can advise, and I know that Lisa Simpson also wants to come in, just to clarify that had Councillor Audrey Cox not managed to reconnect at the point just after I asked her to vote, I would not have gone back to revisit to allow her vote to take place, because on the basis that would have meant that her vote was cast once all other councillors had cast their vote. But I know that this is something that we are looking to address through the review of standing orders and the virtual meetings protocol. But Lisa may also want to come in to clarify.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just by way of assurance. I think that the Deputy Provost was trying to be helpful, given that there have been some connection issues with Councillor Coates today. However, I'd already messaged Scott to say that if we weren't able to take the vote at that time, we couldn't go back and get it. But I would also point out that we're not dealing with quasi-judicial matters in this case. So the query that's been raised as regards Councillor McCall's ability to participate in the vote and as regards the second amendment against the motion is perfectly appropriate and a matter for Councillor Cole to determine.
Thank you very much. Councillor Drysdale, you have a point of order.
Yes, just for the sake of record, Deputy Provost, I noticed a few minutes ago in the meeting chat, which I appreciate is FOI-able, that it appeared as if Councillor Harry Coates appeared, and I just wondered if it can be confirmed whether indeed he did appear or whether he did not.
No, I think perhaps I can't comment. But I'm not sure whether maybe Councillor Coates was using his device, but I do not know.
I was just simply wanting to have that clarified for the record.
Can I just confirm the formal position is that Councillor Harry Coates has submitted apologies for today's meeting?
Thank you.
And Councillor McDade, you wish to have your dissent recorded?
Yes, please, Deputy Provost. Thank you.
And Councillor McEwen, you wish yours recorded as well?
Yes, and I think my whole group does, but I will let them do that themselves.
Deputy Provost, I don't have access, as I said before, to the chat function, so I here would like to record my dissent.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sure Scott will note all those who wish to have their dissent recorded. Thank you very much. This has been taking some quite time to discuss item 12 on the agenda. Councillor Crawford really would like to know what you're meaning by your dissent in this at this point.
Provost, can we please move to next business?
Councillor Barrett, I would really like to move to the next item of business. We now move to item 13, which is the update scheme of administration. Can I invite Lisa Simpson to summarise the updates as set out in the revised scheme of administration? Thank you.
Good afternoon, councillors. Committee Services will have circulated to you the draft scheme, the scheme of administration with the chart changes to show you the changes that have been made. These are really interim housekeeping changes to reflect the change in structure in terms of senior management and operational delegations. So it is an interim position, and it's simply housekeeping. As we've discussed on occasions in the governance MOG, once the Perth and Kinross offer is further developed and we look at decision making in more depth, then we will be doing a whole scale review of the scheme of administration in due course. But this is simply a housekeeping measure.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions on this? Are we happy just to agree this interim report?
Agreed.
Thank you very much.
Agree the report.
Agreed. Agreed.
Thank you very much. Very helpful. That now concludes the public part of the meeting, and I would like to thank any members of the public who joined us for the day. We now move into the private session, so we are asked to leave this meeting and then go into the private session. Okay, thank you.